Before kings fought for the Iron Throne, before dragons returned to the skies, and before winter consumed the realm, Westeros stood at the edge of an unseen age. For nearly 3 centuries, the Seven Kingdoms remained united beneath a single crown, forged through fire, conquest, and the unmatched power of dragons. At the heart of that kingdom stood the Iron Throne, a brutal monument forged from the swords of defeated enemies and feared by every noble house. It was Aegon Targaryen who united the kingdoms, forever changing the political landscape of Westeros through conquest backed by dragonfire. Centuries passed as kings rose, kingdoms prospered, dynasties weakened, and the memory of dragons slowly faded into legend. Yet peace in Westeros had never lasted forever, and every generation inherited the consequences of those before it. One by one, the last dragons disappeared, leaving only ancient skulls, forgotten stories, and a dynasty growing weaker with every passing reign. Once unshakable House Targaryen descended into instability, while ambitious rivals quietly prepared to challenge centuries of inherited rule. Even the Iron Throne, symbol of absolute authority, could not protect a kingdom from the ambitions of powerful men. 17 years before these events, rebellions swept across Westeros, ending nearly 300 years of Targaryen rule forever. Robert Baratheon emerged victorious from the rebellion and claimed the Iron Throne, bringing an uneasy peace to the Seven Kingdoms. Although crowned king, Robert soon discovered that ruling a kingdom demanded far more patience than winning one. The legendary warrior who once crushed armies now spent his days surrounded by politics, debts, and endless responsibilities. Behind the appearance of stability, rival houses quietly expanded their influence while old loyalties slowly weakened. Every great family controlled vast territories, powerful castles, loyal armies, and ambitions capable of reshaping the future of Westeros. In the wealthy West, House Lannister possessed unmatched riches drawn from the golden mines beneath Casterly Rock. Far to the frozen north stood Winterfell, ancient seat of House Stark, and one of the oldest strongholds in Westeros. The north covered nearly half the continent, a harsh land where loyalty, honor, and survival mattered more than wealth. Lord Eddard Stark ruled these lands with quiet integrity, respected throughout the realm for his unwavering sense of justice. Beneath the sacred weirwood tree, ancient traditions reminded the Starks that some powers existed long before kingdoms or kings. On a cold northern morning, Lord Eddard Stark rode beyond Winterfell to deliver justice according to the oldest customs of the North. A lone deserter from the Night's Watch had abandoned his sacred oath, claiming unimaginable horrors beyond the wall pursued him. His frightened words spoke not of wildlings or bandits, but of ancient beings believed to exist only in forgotten legends. Eddard Stark listened without emotion, knowing that duty demanded action regardless of fear or desperate explanations. As tradition required, the lord who passed the sentence carried out the execution himself with the Valyrian steel greatsword, Ice. For the Stark children watching nearby, justice was not merely a law, but a responsibility carried by every ruler. Their journey home took an unexpected turn when the hunting party discovered the body of an enormous direwolf. A broken stag antler pierced the wolf's throat, a haunting symbol linking House Stark with the crowned stag of House Baratheon. While examining the carcass, faint cries echoed through the nearby undergrowth, drawing everyone's attention toward the snow-covered bushes. Hidden beneath fallen branches rested 6 newborn direwolf pups, each abandoned beside their dead mother. 6 children of House Stark and 6 orphaned wolves appeared together in a coincidence too remarkable to ignore. Moments later, Jon Snow discovered another pup separated from the rest, a rare white direwolf hidden alone beneath the snow. The albino pup became Ghost, a silent companion whose destiny would remain forever intertwined with Jon Snow's own journey. Hundreds of miles farther north, another ancient guardian stood watch over civilization itself, the Colossal Wall. Rising hundreds of feet into the frozen sky, the wall marked the boundary between the known world and the unknown wilderness beyond. Beyond its frozen defenses stretched the haunted forest, where even experienced rangers rarely traveled without caution. Earlier that same night, a patrol of the Night's Watch had ventured deep into those silent woods. There, hidden among the frozen trees, ancient enemies long dismissed as myth revealed themselves once again. Steel met supernatural ice as Sir Waymar Royce faced an enemy no living soldier truly understood. Ordinary weapons shattered against impossible strength, confirming that the ancient terror beyond the wall had awakened once more. Only one ranger escaped the massacre, fleeing south with a warning few would ever believe. The wall continued to stand as humanity's final defense, though the true danger now moved silently beyond its frozen frontier. Far to the south, another journey was nearing its destination as the King of Westeros traveled toward Winterfell. Stretching for miles, the royal procession carried nobles, soldiers, servants, supplies, and the political weight of an entire kingdom. King Robert Baratheon arrived accompanied by Queen Cersei Lannister, their children, Sir Jaime Lannister, Tyrion Lannister, and the royal court. Winterfell hurried to welcome its royal guests, preparing feasts, chambers, and ceremonies worthy of the reigning king. For generations, the ancient castle had guarded the north, but few visits carried consequences as great as this one. Trumpets echoed across the courtyard as the royal banners finally appeared beyond Winterfell's towering walls. Massive wooden gates opened, allowing the largest royal procession seen in years to enter the Stark stronghold. Robert Baratheon embraced his oldest friend, Lord Eddard Stark, rekindling a friendship forged during rebellion and war. Queen Cersei entered Winterfell with perfect composure, masking political calculation behind royal elegance. Beside her stood Sir Jaime Lannister, celebrated throughout Westeros as one of the greatest knights of his generation. Tyrion Lannister quietly observed everything around him, relying more upon intellect than titles or reputation. From the castle walls, the Stark children watched the royal family arrive, unaware their lives would soon change forever. That evening, Winterfell celebrated with a magnificent feast, honoring the king and strengthening old alliances. Away from the festivities, Robert and Eddard remembered the battles that had once united them against House Targaryen. Together they descended into the ancient crypts beneath Winterfell, where generations of Stark rulers rested in silence. Before Lyanna Stark's tomb, Robert mourned the woman whose memory had shaped both his rebellion and his reign. Though years had passed since her death, Lyanna's absence continued to influence the fate of the Seven Kingdoms. As darkness settled over Winterfell, unseen destinies quietly advanced across both Westeros and the lands beyond the Narrow Sea. Far across the Narrow Sea, the exiled heirs of House Targaryen survived in a foreign land, clinging to fading dreams of restoration. Within the wealthy city of Pentos, the siblings lived under the protection of the influential merchant Illyrio Mopatis. Viserys Targaryen believed the Iron Throne remained his birthright, despite years spent wandering in exile. His younger sister, Daenerys Targaryen, possessed neither power nor freedom, living according to the ambitions of others. Together, they represented the final known survivors of the once mighty Targaryen dynasty that had ruled Westeros for centuries. Illyrio quietly arranged alliances that could transform forgotten exiles into serious claimants for the Iron Throne. Beyond the free cities stretched the vast continent of Essos, where powerful armies answered only to strength and loyalty. Among those forces, none inspired greater fear than the Dothraki, unmatched horse warriors who dominated the endless grasslands. Their leader, Khal Drogo, commanded one of the largest khalasars ever assembled across the Dothraki Sea. Thousands of riders followed him without question, creating a mobile civilization capable of overwhelming entire kingdoms. To secure that military power, Illyrio arranged a meeting between Daenerys Targaryen and Khal Drogo. Neither shared a common language, yet both understood that this encounter would shape the future of nations. Viserys viewed the marriage as a simple exchange, sacrificing his sister in return for an army powerful enough to invade Westeros. Preparations began for a traditional Dothraki wedding unlike anything the young Targaryen princess had ever witnessed. Surrounded by thousands of mounted warriors, Daenerys entered a new world governed by customs completely foreign to her upbringing. The celebration displayed the immense strength and culture of the Dothraki, whose lives revolved around horses, honor, and conquest. During the ceremony, Illyrio presented Daenerys with 3 ancient dragon eggs preserved for generations as priceless relics. Though believed to be lifeless stone, the mysterious eggs carried the forgotten legacy of House Targaryen. As night settled across the endless grasslands, the Dothraki camp stretched farther than the eye could see. Holding the dragon eggs beneath the stars, Daenerys unknowingly carried the first spark of a new age soon to reshape the world. Dawn returned to Winterfell, but the peace that once defined the ancient castle had already begun to disappear. Lord Eddard Stark considered King Robert's request carefully, knowing that accepting would change both his family and the realm. Beneath the sacred weirwood tree, 2 old friends discussed loyalty, responsibility, and the burdens carried only by kings and honorable men. Robert urged Eddard to become the next hand of the king, believing no other man could truly be trusted. Eddard understood that serving in King's Landing meant leaving behind the safety of Winterfell and entering a dangerous political world. Lady Catelyn Stark sensed the uncertainty surrounding the king's proposal, fearing that southern politics brought only hidden dangers. Together, Eddard and Catelyn weighed honor against family, knowing that either decision would carry lasting consequences. Elsewhere within the castle, young Bran Stark continued climbing Winterfell's ancient towers, completely unaware of the danger awaiting him. Fearless and curious, Bran viewed every rooftop as another adventure above the bustling castle below. From the highest towers, Winterfell appeared peaceful, its people carrying on with ordinary life beneath cold northern skies. Bran's curiosity eventually led him toward an abandoned tower rarely visited by anyone within the castle. Hidden behind weathered stone walls, forgotten chambers concealed secrets capable of shaking the most powerful families in Westeros. Inside that isolated tower, Queen Cersei and Sir Jaime Lannister believed themselves completely beyond the sight of others. Climbing silently outside the tower walls, Bran unknowingly approached one of the kingdom's most dangerous secrets. In a single unexpected moment, the young Stark witnessed a truth that threatened both the royal family and the stability of the realm. Jaime Lannister immediately realized that Bran's discovery could destroy House Lannister and expose a secret hidden for years. Faced with an impossible choice, Jaime stepped toward the frightened boy as silence filled the abandoned chamber. To protect the secret at any cost, Jaime pushed Bran from the tower window high above Winterfell's courtyard. Bran fell through open air, his fate uncertain as the ancient castle rushed upward beneath him. The peaceful beginning of the story ended in tragedy, setting into motion the events that would ultimately transform the fate of Westeros forever. Winterfell's peaceful morning erupted into panic as Bran Stark was found broken beneath the castle towers. Lady Catelyn rushed to her son's side, refusing to leave him as every passing moment deepened her fear. Grand Maester Luwin examined Bran carefully, yet even the most skilled healer could not promise the boy's survival. Lord Eddard Stark stood helpless outside Bran's chamber, confronting a grief no battlefield had ever prepared him to face. King Robert offered sympathy to his oldest friend, though neither man realized greater dangers were already unfolding. Queen Cersei remained outwardly composed, concealing the truth that could destroy both her family and the crown itself. Jaime Lannister silently carried the burden of his decision, knowing one desperate act had forever altered countless lives. Tyrion Lannister observed Winterfell with thoughtful curiosity, recognizing that every great castle concealed secrets behind its stone walls. Jon Snow visited Bran before departing, uncertain whether his younger brother would ever awaken again. Outside Winterfell, Jon looked toward the distant wall, where his own destiny waited beyond the frozen frontier. Across the Seven Kingdoms, the balance of power remained fragile, held together by alliances built upon trust and suspicion alike. Every great house possessed ambitions, loyalties, and rivalries that would soon collide beneath the Iron Throne. Far away in King's Landing, the Iron Throne remained the ultimate prize, drawing powerful families into dangerous political games. Beyond the Wall, the White Walkers continued their silent advance, unseen by the kingdoms they threatened. Ancient legends dismissed for generations were becoming reality, while the people of Westeros remained dangerously unaware. Across the Narrow Sea, Daenerys Targaryen began embracing a new life among the Dothraki, carrying the forgotten legacy of dragons. Though separated by oceans and continents, every journey had already become part of the same unfolding story. Ravens carried messages across the realm, spreading news while unseen events reshaped the future faster than words could travel. The Seven Kingdoms still appeared peaceful, yet beneath that calm surface, every decision pushed the realm closer to conflict. One fall from a tower, one forgotten prophecy, and one exiled princess had quietly begun the greatest struggle in Westerosi history. Winterfell slowly returned to its daily routine, yet the castle no longer felt like the peaceful stronghold it had been only days before. Beside Bran's bed, Catelyn Stark refused food, sleep, or comfort, believing her place remained with her unconscious son alone. Beneath the ancient weirwood, Eddard Stark quietly reflected on duty, family, and the difficult path now unfolding before him. Despite tragedy within Winterfell, the royal household prepared to continue its long journey back toward King's Landing. Hundreds of soldiers, servants, wagons, and nobles assembled once more, ready to leave the north behind. Jon Snow watched the royal procession depart, understanding that his own road would soon lead in the opposite direction. The King's Road stretched endlessly south, carrying the king, Lord Stark, and the future of the Seven Kingdoms toward the capital. Waiting in King's Landing stood the Red Keep, where political ambition often proved deadlier than open warfare. Far beyond civilization, the frozen wilderness remained silent as ancient dangers continued gathering strength in the endless snow. The White Walkers advanced without haste, requiring neither food nor rest as they moved through the darkness beyond the Wall. On the Wall itself, the Brothers of the Night's Watch continued their eternal vigil, unaware of the full scale of the threat approaching. Castle Black remained humanity's northern fortress, where discipline and sacrifice protected a realm that scarcely remembered its defenders. Across the Narrow Sea, Daenerys rode deeper into the Dothraki Sea, leaving behind the sheltered world she had always known. Thousands of miles separated these stories, yet every path slowly converged toward a single destiny. The great houses of Westeros remained locked in an uneasy balance, each possessing the power to reshape the realm through ambition or loyalty. Messages crossed the continent by raven, connecting distant castles while unseen events unfolded faster than news could spread. Ancient history, present politics, and forgotten prophecies quietly intertwined, preparing the world for an age unlike any before. Winter itself had not yet arrived, but its first warning signs could already be seen beyond the Wall. The fall of one young boy, the return of forgotten enemies, and the rise of an exiled princess marked the beginning of a much larger story. This was only the opening chapter of a conflict that would determine the future of Westeros, the fate of dragons, and the survival of mankind. The King's Road stretched across an entire continent, carrying kings, nobles, soldiers, and secrets toward an uncertain future. As the royal procession continued south, every mile carried Lord Eddard Stark farther from the safety of the north. Robert Baratheon saw the journey as a return home, while Eddard Stark recognized it as the beginning of a dangerous duty. Behind them, Winterfell faded into the northern horizon, leaving House Stark divided for the first time in many years. Lady Catelyn remained behind with Bran, unaware that another threat would soon arrive within the castle itself. Robb Stark accepted greater responsibility, preparing to govern Winterfell while his father served the Iron Throne. Though unconscious, Bran Stark had already become the center of a mystery capable of changing the fate of powerful kingdoms. Jon Snow quietly prepared for his own departure, choosing a path that would lead him to the Night's Watch. The vast North remained loyal to House Stark, standing watch beneath ancient traditions older than the Seven Kingdoms themselves. Far beyond those lands, the Wall continued guarding humanity against an enemy almost everyone believed no longer existed. At Castle Black, generations of sworn brothers maintained their lonely vigil, protecting a realm that had largely forgotten their purpose. Beyond the Wall, abandoned camps and frozen forests hinted that something ancient had begun moving once more. The White Walkers advanced without anger or mercy, bringing with them a winter unlike any recorded in living memory. Across the narrow sea, Daenerys Targaryen traveled deeper into the Dothraki Sea, carrying 3 mysterious dragon eggs toward an unknown destiny. Though separated by thousands of miles, the journeys of Eddard, Jon, Bran, and Daenerys had already become inseparable. Waiting at the center of the realm stood the Iron Throne, where ambition, loyalty, and betrayal would soon collide. Every road, every castle, and every great house now formed part of a much larger struggle still hidden from the world. Ravens crossed the skies carrying messages between kingdoms, but no warning could yet reveal the true danger approaching from the far north. The game for power had quietly begun, even as an older and far greater war gathered beyond the Wall. Winter was coming, not merely as a season, but as the greatest test the Seven Kingdoms had faced in thousands of years. The road south had only just begun, yet the fate of every great house was already being reshaped by unseen choices. In the frozen north, the Night's Watch remained the realm's forgotten shield, standing between civilization and an ancient darkness. At Castle Black, new recruits would soon arrive, unaware that their vows carried greater importance than ever before. Beyond the Wall, the haunted forest concealed an enemy that had patiently waited for thousands of years. The White Walkers continued their silent march, unconcerned with crowns, castles, or the rivalries dividing mankind. Every raven crossing the northern skies carried news between kingdoms, but none could yet warn of the true danger approaching. From Winterfell to King's Landing, every castle occupied its place upon a continent where power constantly shifted between noble houses. The king's procession advanced steadily south, bringing Lord Eddard Stark ever closer to the deadly politics of the royal court. Honor had always guided Eddard Stark, but the capital rewarded cunning far more often than honesty. Waiting ahead stood King's Landing, the heart of the Seven Kingdoms and the center of every political ambition. Behind its crowded streets and magnificent walls, powerful families competed for influence surrounding the Iron Throne. Above the capital, the Red Keep stood as both the symbol of royal authority and the stage upon which future betrayals would unfold. Within its throne room, the Iron Throne silently awaited those willing to sacrifice everything for power. Across the narrow sea, Daenerys Targaryen journeyed farther from the frightened girl she had once been. The dragon eggs remained silent, yet they carried a forgotten legacy capable of changing the balance of the world. In Winterfell, an ancient weirwood continued watching over generations of Starks, preserving memories older than written history. Throughout Westeros, the banners of the great houses still flew proudly, unaware that war would soon test every oath they represented. Snow gathered beyond the Wall while political storms formed within the kingdoms, each moving steadily toward an inevitable collision. The opening chapter had introduced the players, but the true game for the future of Westeros had only just begun. As one story ended and another prepared to begin, the ancient warning echoed across the north. Winter was coming.